The blare of my phone jerks me from a dreamless sleep at 2:17 a.m. My security app flashes red with an urgent notification. Someone is at the greenhouse. My pulse quickens as I grab my keys and slip on yesterday's jeans, still crusted with soil at the knees. The drive to my property takes 11 excruciating minutes. My headlights catch the gate first, and my stomach drops. The padlock hangs uselessly, broken clean through. I park haphazardly, leaving the headlights on to cut through the darkness. My hands tremble as I push open the gate. Glass crunches beneath my boots like winter ice breaking. The sound echoes in my chest, each step forward revealing more destruction. No, no, no. The words tumble from my lips, barely audible over the thundering of my heartbeat. Inside, the devastation steals my breath. Thousands of plants lie broken and scattered across concrete floors, hanging baskets smashed, potted orchids sliced through their centers, rare succulents crushed under boot prints. The order for Hartwell Properties' $22,000 of carefully cultivated plants destroyed beyond salvation. I stumble to the small office in the back corner, praying the security system captured something useful. The camera screen flickers to life under my touch. I rewind the footage with shaking fingers. There, He Island. Tyler, my brother. His face perfectly illuminated as he looks directly into the camera, raising the garden shears he stole from my tool shed. The hatred in his eyes burns through the screen as he systematically destroys everything I've built. My knees give out. I sink to the floor amid pottery shards and scattered soil. The footage plays on 2 hours of methodical destruction. Tyler occasionally glancing at the camera, making sure I would see him, would know exactly who did this. 1 week ago, we were all sitting around my parents' dining table. Mom passed the mashed potatoes while Dad cleared his throat in that way that always preceded an uncomfortable conversation. "Isla, honey," Mom began, her voice gentle but insistent. "Tyler is between jobs again. We were thinking your greenhouse would be the perfect place for him. You're doing so well now." I placed my fork down carefully. "I can't afford another employee right now, Mom. And Tyler doesn't have any experience with plants." Dad's laugh held no humor. "He just needs someone to give him a chance. How hard can it be to water some flowers?" I bit my tongue against the urge to explain the complexity of maintaining specific soil pH levels, temperature controls, and feeding schedules for hundreds of specialized plants. "Family has to look out for each other," Mom added, reaching for my hand across the table. Her fingers were soft, uncalloused. She had never understood the physical labor my business required. "I'm sorry," I said firmly. "It's not personal. I just need employees with experience. The Hartwell contract is too important to risk." Tyler nodded, his smile tight. "No worries, sis. I get it." But he didn't get it. The text messages started the next morning. "You always think you're better than everyone. Must be nice having Mom and Dad's favorite business. Guess family means nothing to you." I blocked his number after 3 days of escalating hostility. My parents called daily, their disappointment heavy through the phone line. I let their calls go to voicemail while I worked 16-hour days preparing the Hartwell order, the most significant contract of my career, my chance to finally pay off a substantial portion of my business loan. Last night, exhausted after transplanting the final specimens, I checked my voicemail. Tyler's voice, slurred with what I recognized as his third bourbon anger. "You'll regret choosing your stupid plants over family, Isla. Just wait." Now, surrounded by the wreckage of my livelihood, I understand the full meaning of his threat. I force myself to stand. My phone is still clutched in my hand, and I use it methodically, photographing each section of destruction. When I've documented everything, I call the police. My voice shakes but remains clear. "Yes, I'd like to report vandalism and destruction of property. I have security footage identifying the person responsible." While waiting for them to arrive, I wander back into what remains of my main greenhouse. I remember buying this land 4 years ago, the pride I felt signing those papers with money I'd saved working 3 jobs since high school. The loan officer had smirked when I first walked in, but his expression changed when I presented my business plan, detailed down to the penny. On the security monitor, Tyler swings a hammer into a row of terracotta pots. His movements are precise, not frenzied. This wasn't done in anger. This was calculated malice. I feel something shift inside me as I watch the footage a second time. The shock recedes, replaced by an unexpected clarity. I stand straighter, wiping soil from my palms onto my jeans. "This ends today," I whisper to the empty greenhouse. The tremor has left my voice. I hear sirens approaching in the distance. Outside, the sky is beginning to lighten at the edges. Dawn is coming. I walk to meet the police officers, stepping carefully through the debris of what was, ready to fight for what will be. The following hours passed by at the police station, and filing reports. After the procedures were finally complete, I pulled into my parents' driveway at exactly noon, the police report tucked into a folder beside me. The house looks smaller somehow, the white columns and brick facade less impressive than they seemed throughout my childhood. My fingers tighten around the steering wheel. I've rehearsed this conversation for hours, but my throat still constricts at what waits inside. The doorbell chimes the same 8 notes it has since I was 10. Mom answers wearing her Sunday cardigan, though it's Tuesday. Her smile falters when she sees my expression. Isla, honey, we weren't expecting you. I need to talk to everyone. My voice comes out steadier than I feel. Tyler included. She hesitates, then steps back. We're in the living room. Dad sits in his leather recliner, newspaper folded precisely on his lap. Tyler sprawls on the couch, phone in hand. They both look up as I enter. Neither stands. Isla, Dad nods. What brings you by unannounced? I place the folder on the coffee table. My greenhouse was vandalized last night. Someone destroyed everything. The Hartwell order. All of it. Mom gasps. Oh my God, did you call the police? I did. I look directly at Tyler. His face remains neutral, almost bored. They have the security footage. Tyler sits up straighter. I don't know what you're talking about. The practiced confusion in his voice makes my stomach turn. I pull out my phone and connect it to their television with 2 quick taps. The screen flickers to life, showing Tyler looking directly into my security camera. In the footage, he raises garden shears toward the lens in mock salute, before turning to systematically slice through a row of potted orchids. Mom's hand flies to her mouth. Dad sits perfectly still, newspaper crinkling under his tightening grip. Tyler's expression flickers between shock and anger as his recorded self destroys my livelihood. Turn it off, Dad says finally. I pause the video but don't close it. The police have all of this. They're filing charges for criminal damage and breaking and entering. The silence stretches tight as piano wire until Mom breaks it. Surely we can handle this privately, she pleads. As a family. Dad clears his throat. Isla, I understand you're upset. The greenhouse is insured, yes? I'll cover whatever the deductible island. He reaches for the checkbook in his breast pocket. Just tell them there was a mistake. You don't want this hanging over Tyler's future. A laugh escapes me, sharp and without humor. You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about money. Then what is it about? Tyler asks, voice rising. Punishment? Revenge? Consequences, I answer. Something you've never had to face. Mom steps between us. Please, Isla, we're family. Family, I test the word. Was it family when you gave Tyler a key to my house without telling me? For emergencies, you said? Their shared glance tells me everything. How long have you had that key? Dad shifts in his chair. Since you bought the place, but that's not. 4 years. The betrayal sits heavy on my tongue. 4 years you've had access to my home without my knowledge. Tyler stands now. You're overreacting. It's just a key. Just like it's just plants? I counter. Just business? Michael called me this morning. He told me you've been telling people I owe you part of the greenhouse, that it was supposed to be a family business. Well, it should have been. Tyler steps forward. Dad helped with your loan application. Mom helped with your business name. And when I needed something, one thing you shut me out. I look down at my hands. Soil still embedded under my nails despite scrubbing them raw this morning. Mom's hands rest on the arm of Dad's chair, her manicure perfect, not a callus in sight. The contrast strikes me suddenly. These hands have built something from nothing, while they've only taken. I'm not dropping the charges, I say quietly. Dad pulls out his checkbook. Name your price, Isla. Whatever the damage costs, plus extra for your trouble. I glance at the mantle where family photos tell our story. Tyler's graduation, parents flanking him proudly, Tyler's first car, ribbon on the hood, Tyler's college acceptance. In the corner, one small frame holds my business license photo, added as an afterthought. Some things can't be bought off, Dad. My phone vibrates. A text from Lisa, my assistant. I saw Tyler arguing with you last week. Happy to give a statement if needed. Earlier, Michael had called. I saw how he talked to you at the nursery supply. That wasn't normal. Let me know if you need a witness. Even Mr. Grayson from the bank had reached out. Your business plan was solid from day one, Miss Flores. We stand behind our investment in you. The Hartwell project manager surprised me most. Take the time you need. Your integrity is why we hired you. All these connections while I worked 16-hour days building something real. Where was my family then? I remember planting the first saplings on my property alone, muscles screaming, while they vacationed with Tyler in Florida. You don't understand what you're doing, Dad warns. This will change everything. Good. I tuck my phone away. Everything needed to change. Tyler's face contorts. The mask slips completely. You've always thought you were better than me, haven't you? Better than all of us with your precious plants and your self-made businesswoman act. Tyler, don't. Mom reaches for him, but he shrugs her off. You know what? I'm glad I did it. He's shouting now, spittle flying. You needed to be knocked down a peg. Always so high and mighty, looking down on me because I don't want to work myself to death for minimum wage. Stop it right now, Dad stands, but it's too late. What were you going to do? Call the cops? Oh, wait, you did. Tyler laughs bitterly. Always have to do the right thing, don't you, Isla? Mom turns to me, desperate. He didn't mean it. He's just upset. Even now, even with his confession echoing in the room, they shield him. I stand straighter, shoulders back. I never thought I was better than you, Tyler. I just worked harder. I gather the folder and my phone. On the coffee table sits a framed photo from last Christmas, the four of us in matching sweaters, smiling for the camera. I leave it facing down as I walk out. Behind me, I hear Mom start to cry. Dad calls my name once, then falls silent. The front door closes behind me with a quiet click that sounds like freedom. The first time I planted something that grew, I was 14. A science teacher handed out lima beans wrapped in damp paper towels. Mine sprouted first. While other kids forgot their plastic cups on windowsills, I carried mine home, checking it every hour. When that first true leaf unfurled, something inside me unfolded too. By 16, I sold potted herbs from a rickety card table in my parents' driveway. $20 profit that first weekend. I kept the cash in a coffee can labeled Greenhouse Fund, while my classmates spent allowance money at the mall. You're really going to save for 10 years? Dad laughed when I showed him the zoning requirements for agricultural business property. That's not realistic, Isla. In the kitchen, Mom patted my shoulder. It's a lovely hobby, sweetie. The next day, Tyler drove home in his graduation present a glossy red Mustang that cost more than my entire savings goal. I watched from my bedroom window as Dad handed him the keys, both beaming with identical grins. That night, I applied for my second job stocking shelves at the hardware store. For 3 years, I worked mornings at the coffee shop, afternoons at the hardware store, and weekends at the garden center. I slept 4 hours a night and took online business courses during lunch breaks. When customers complained about soil under my fingernails while I served their lattes, I smiled and apologized. Every tip went into the coffee can. The loan officer, a man with shiny cufflinks and a Harvard diploma on his wall, barely glanced at me when I first walked into his office. I was 22, wearing my only blazer and carrying a binder held together with duct tape. So you want to grow plants. He flipped through my business plan without reading it. I want to build a specialized greenhouse focusing on drought-resistant ornamentals and rare specimen plants for high-end landscaping contracts. I kept my voice steady, the words practiced in front of my bathroom mirror for months. His eyebrows lifted. Let's see your projections. 3 hours later, he approved the loan for half my requested amount. It's the best I can do for someone with no business history. Take it or leave it. I took it, knowing I'd need to build the first greenhouse myself. The land I purchased sat 10 miles outside town, 27 acres of overgrown field with poor drainage but good southern exposure. The previous owner had abandoned it after failing to develop a subdivision. I got it for 30 cents on the dollar. That first year broke me down and rebuilt me. Every morning before my shift at the coffee shop, I cleared rocks and pulled stumps. Every evening after the hardware store, I dug drainage trenches by headlight. I slept in my truck most nights, too exhausted to drive home, using a tarp as my blanket. Rain soaked me. Sun blistered my shoulders. Mosquitoes feasted on every exposed inch of skin. Tyler visited once, pulling up in his Mustang while I was laying irrigation pipes. This is what you're killing yourself for? He gestured at the muddy field, the stack of lumber, the single-frame wall I'd raised. Looks like a whole lot of nothing to me. I straightened, wiping sweat from my forehead. It's not nothing to me. Whatever. He shrugged, hands in his pockets. Mom wants you to come to dinner Sunday. Dad's golf buddy is bringing his son. She thinks you'd hit it off. But can't. I'm pouring the concrete foundation. He rolled his eyes. You know they worry about you, right? This isn't normal. This isn't. I turned back to my work without answering. He left tire marks across my newly graded driveway. The first greenhouse took shape over autumn. A landscaper named Michael stopped by one afternoon when I was struggling with the roof beams. Want a hand? He asked, already rolling up his sleeves. We worked until midnight, securing the polycarbonate panels against winter winds. Afterward, we drank lukewarm coffee sitting on upturned buckets. Most people hire contractors for this kind of work, he said. Most people have more money than determination. I flexed my blistered hands. I have plenty of the second. During winter storms, I slept on a cot inside the greenhouse, afraid the structure wouldn't hold against the wind. When pipes froze and burst, I spent 3 days replumbing the entire system. When wholesalers wouldn't extend credit to a new business, I drove 6 hours each way to buy directly from growers, cramming seedlings into every inch of my truck. The morning I signed my first landscaping contract, $8,000 for a hotel renovation, I called my parents. That's wonderful, honey. Mom said, distracted. Tyler just got a promotion at the insurance office. We're taking him to Whistler to celebrate. I'd invite you, but I know how busy you are. I hung up and stood alone in my empty office, a metal desk inside a shipping container surrounded by invoice copies and growing schedules pinned to plywood walls. Outside, thousands of plants flourished under my care. When the Hartwell contract came, $22,000 for a corporate headquarters installation, I spent every waking minute preparing. Each plant was perfectly placed, labeled, and documented. At midnight on the final day of preparation, I allowed myself a small celebration. 1 cup of coffee on my truck tailgate, watching moonlight play across rows of healthy plants. Only that night did I feel successful. Then came 2:17 a.m. and the security alert that shattered everything. The morning after Tyler destroyed my greenhouse, I stood among the wreckage as dawn broke, already making lists in my head. The insurance adjuster arrived at 9, expecting tears and confusion. Instead, I handed him a complete inventory with photographs, purchase dates, and replacement costs. Most people don't keep records this detailed, he said, surprised. I'm not most people. When I returned from my parents' house, 3 cars had pulled into my ruined driveway. The owner of the coffee shop where I'd worked years before, a regular customer from my first plant sale. Michael, holding 2 cups of coffee and work gloves. We saw what happened on the community page, the coffee shop owner said. Thought you could use some help. They stayed until sunset, clearing debris and salvaging what plants could be saved. Michael worked silently beside me, matching my pace without conversation. My phone rang as we finished. The Hartwell project manager. I heard about what happened, she said. We can adjust our timeline if you need it. I looked across the devastation, at the small pile of salvaged plants. I appreciate that. We chose your company because of your reputation for quality and resilience. That hasn't changed. When the court date arrived 6 weeks later, I wore my work clothes clean but bearing the permanent soil stains of my profession. The courtroom smelled of furniture, polish, and anxiety. Tyler sat with our parents, all 3 dressed as if attending church. I testified without embellishment. The security footage played on the courtroom monitor, Tyler's face clearly visible as he systematically destroyed years of my work. The judge watched without expression. When it was Tyler's turn, he spoke of stress and misunderstandings, of feeling excluded from family business opportunities, of deep remorse that didn't reach his eyes. Our parents sat directly behind him, not in the neutral middle row. The judge's ruling was swift: full restitution, 200 hours of community service, a no-contact order. Tyler's face hardened as the terms were read. I walked out alone, squinting in the sudden sunlight. The greenhouse waited, already half rebuilt. Unlike the family behind me, it stood on foundations I could trust. 2 days later, the crunch of gravel under heavy boots announces the security installers arriving at 7 sharp. I'm already on my second coffee, having been awake since 4, reviewing blueprints for the rebuilt greenhouse. Sleep comes in short bursts these days. We'll start with 8 cameras, I tell the lead technician, pointing to the property diagram I've marked with red X's. Full coverage of every entrance, the parking area, and a special focus on the new greenhouse foundation. He nods appreciatively at my preparation. Most folks just tell us to make it secure and leave it at that. I manage a small smile. I'm not leaving anything to chance again. The insurance check arrived yesterday, $18,000. Not enough to replace everything, but enough to begin. I've been sleeping on a cot in my small office, guarding what remains while planning the resurrection. Every penny has been allocated in my new spreadsheet. Security first, then structural repairs, then plants in strict order of profitability. The doorbell chimes as the technicians team gets to work. A woman I recognize from the Chamber of Commerce stands at the door holding a gift basket and an envelope. Isla Flores? I'm Catherine Daniels. We've never formally met, but the business association wanted to extend our support. She gestures at the destruction still visible through the broken glass walls. We heard what happened, and we want you to know the local business community stands with you. I accept the envelope with soil-stained fingers. Inside is an invitation to join the association with first-year dues waived, along with contact information for 3 new potential clients interested in commercial landscaping. Thank you, I say, the words feeling inadequate. Your resilience has impressed a lot of people, Catherine says before leaving. Not many would be rebuilding so quickly. By noon, I'm carefully transplanting salvageable seedlings according to my prioritized recovery schedule. My phone buzzes. Mom's number. The 4th call today. I silence it without breaking rhythm, my hands moving methodically through the soil. 10 minutes later, the security technician calls from outside. Miss Flores? Your parents are at the gate asking to be let in. My fingers tighten around a small terracotta pot. Please inform them that I'm in the middle of critical work and can't be interrupted. 20 minutes pass before I hear Mom's voice, somehow inside the property. She must have followed one of the security vehicles through the gate. Isla, honey, we need to talk about healing our family. I don't look up from my work. This is private property. The business is closed for repairs. He's your brother, she says, her voice breaking. Family forgives family. Now I stand, wiping soil from my hands onto my jeans. I'll be happy to talk when Tyler completes his court-ordered restitution and community service. Until then, I have nothing to discuss. Dad steps forward from behind Mom. We've contacted Pastor Williams. He's willing to mediate a family meeting. No, I say quietly, but with absolute certainty. I've documented this visit. Please leave, or I'll have to call the officer handling my case. Their faces show the shock of unfamiliar consequences. They've never heard this tone from me before. That evening, I noticed Tyler's truck driving slowly past the property, despite the no-contact order. I photograph the vehicle and forward it to my lawyer without emotion. Each violation strengthens my case. Each documented instance builds the wall between my past and my future. Later, I find 3 new 1-star reviews online for my business, all posted within an hour. The writing style matches Mom's Bridge Club friends. I flag them as harassment without reading beyond the first lines. The next morning, Michael arrives with coffee and bagels. What started as professional landscape architecture consultations has evolved into something neither of us has named yet. The new greenhouse frame arrives next Tuesday, he says, consulting his tablet. I've confirmed with the manufacturer. I nod, allowing myself a moment to appreciate how he remembers every detail without being asked. I'm hiring 2 assistants next week, part-time to start. He looks up, surprise evident. You've never wanted employees before. I can't build this alone anymore, I admit. The words feel strange in my mouth, an acknowledgement of both limitation and expansion. And the Westridge corporate contract needs more hands than mine. The Westridge contract? When did that happen? This morning. They called after seeing that article in the Business Journal. I hadn't sought publicity, but a reporter had found the court case and turned it into a story about small business resilience. Michael grins. That's twice the size of Hartwell. I know. For the first time in weeks, I allow myself a genuine smile. I'm making the first extra loan payment on Friday. We walk the property together, discussing placement for the expanded growing areas. The old greenhouse foundation has been cleared, ready for something larger and stronger. Through the chain-link fence, I notice several members of my parents' country club watching us with uncomfortable expressions. News travels fast in this town. Your mother called me yesterday, Michael says casually. testing a support beam. I freeze. What? Asked if I'd talk some sense into you about dropping the charges. Seemed shocked when I said you were making the right decision. The familiar pressure builds behind my eyes, but I blink it away. They'll try everyone eventually. Thank you for. For what? For not needing an explanation. That evening, I receive a text from an unknown number. One of my employees from last season asking if positions are still available. Then another from a local supplier offering credit terms to help with the rebuild. I sit at my makeshift desk, surrounded by growing signs of recovery. Security cameras now monitor every approach to my property. New relationships with neighboring businesses ensure multiple eyes watching when I'm not here. The greenhouse frame scheduled for delivery. 2 new employees starting Monday. The Westridge contract signed and filed. Tyler took what I had built, but in doing so, he forced me to build something stronger. I review my planting schedule one last time before allowing myself 6 hours of sleep, the most I've scheduled since that night. Tomorrow brings another day of calculated growth, another day of boundaries maintained, another day of rebuilding not just what was, but what should be. For the first time since the destruction, I fall asleep without checking the security cameras first. After 6 weeks of boundaries and unanswered calls, Mother's text arrives as I'm finishing inventory. Family dinner tonight, 7 p.m. Time to make peace. I read it 3 times, stomach tightening. This feels like another ambush. But avoiding them forever isn't the solution. You don't have to go, Michael says when I call him. But if you decide to, I'm coming with you. I'm coming with you. I decided to go, but I am bringing all other evidence of my brother's harassment. That evening, his steady presence beside me as we pull into my parents' driveway steadies my breathing. The house looks exactly the same: pristine lawn, polished brass knocker, autumn wreath perfectly centered. Mom opens the door before we knock, her smile too bright. Isla, sweetheart. She embraces me stiffly. Her perfume, the same she's worn for 20 years, tickles my nose. And you must be Michael. So nice to finally meet you. And me say. The dining room glows with candlelight. Mother's best china gleams on the table, alongside crystal water glasses that appear only for special occasions. Dad stands by his chair, forcing a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Good to see you, princess, he says, using my childhood nickname for the first time in a decade. Something feels off. The table is set for 5. Then I hear footsteps from the kitchen. My body tenses before my brain fully registers. Tyler. He steps into the dining room holding a casserole dish, wearing an expression of practiced humility. The restraining order explicitly states he must stay 500 feet away from me. What is this? My voice drops to a dangerous calm. Now, Isla. Mom interjects quickly. We thought it was time for everyone to talk this through like adults. Michael's hand finds the small of my back, grounding me. I notice Dad's eyes track the movement, his jaw tightening. Tyler isn't supposed to be within 500 feet of me. I say quietly, that's not my rule, it's the court's. Which is exactly what we need to discuss, Dad says, gesturing to the chairs. Sit, please. Your mother made pot roast. The audacity is breathtaking. I remain standing. We're family, Mom continues, her voice slipping into the gentle manipulation I've heard all my life. What will the neighbors think? The Flores family in court against each other. Your grandfather would be heartbroken. Dad nods solemnly. We've talked about this extensively with Tyler. He's ready to apologize properly. On cue, Tyler steps forward. Isla, I'm truly sorry for what happened. I was in a bad place, but I've been going to those anger management classes. I've changed. His words flow too smoothly, rehearsed in front of our parents' bathroom mirror, no doubt. I've heard variations of this speech since we were children, after he broke my science project, after he borrowed my car and crashed it, after each disaster that our parents helped him escape. What exactly are you hoping will happen tonight? I ask, looking between the 3 of them. Mom reaches for the bread basket. Well, we thought once Tyler apologizes, you could reconsider pressing charges. Your father can cover any remaining damages. The insurance already covered the damages. I say. The criminal record is what's hurting him, Dad explains, as if I don't understand. He's had 3 job interviews fall through because of it. I open my messenger bag and remove a folder. This is a printout of Tyler driving by my greenhouse 4 times last week, I say, placing the first page on the table. This is from yesterday. when he parked outside my house for 27 minutes. Another page. And this is a copy of the messages he sent from different numbers since his regular one was blocked. Their faces reveal everything. They knew. True amends would mean respecting the boundaries set by the court. I continue. It would mean Tyler getting a job, any job, and paying restitution himself instead of using Dad's money. It would mean actual change, not just words. Mom's hand flutters to her throat. Isla, family is above all. No, I interrupt, my voice firm but not loud. Respect is above all. Consequences are necessary. Glow. You've always been so high and mighty, Tyler snaps, the mask of contrition slipping. You think your precious plants make you better than everyone. Dad stands, reaching for his wallet. Look, I'll write a check right now. Whatever amount you want. Let's put this ugliness behind us. This isn't about money, I say. It never was. Mom looks genuinely confused. Money and appearances have always been their solution to everything. I stand straighter. When you're ready to respect my boundaries, the legal ones and the personal ones, I'll be here. But reconciliation requires changed behavior, not just words. Tyler's face contorts with rage. You self-righteous bitch. You've always thought you were too good for this family. Tyler! Mom gasps, but I notice she moves toward him, not me still protecting him even now. You see? Dad gestures wildly. This is what your stubbornness causes, if you just forgive and forget. Like you taught him to do? I ask quietly. When has Tyler ever had to truly face consequences? The truth lands like a physical blow. Mom's face crumples as decades of enabling flash before her eyes. Dad looks lost without his checkbook solution. I turn to leave, Michael a steady presence beside me. The chaos of raised voices follows us to the door. Outside, the evening is surprisingly peaceful. Stars appear in the darkening sky. I take my first deep breath since arriving, the weight lifting from my shoulders with each step toward the car. Are you okay? Michael asks as we drive away. I watch my childhood home recede in the side mirror. For the first time, it looks small. Yes, I answer, surprised to find it's true. I really am. Morning sunlight streams through the newly installed skylights, casting diamond patterns across my expanded greenhouse floor. 1 year has transformed this space from devastation to abundance. Plants of every variety stretch toward the light, orchids with arching stems, succulents forming geometric patterns, and hanging ferns creating living curtains in the corners. Miss Flores? Elaine appears at the doorway, clipboard in hand. My newest employee, hired just last month to help manage our growing client list. The Martin account paperwork is ready for your signature. I glance at my watch, 7:30 a.m., the day already humming with purpose. Thanks. I'll review it before our team meeting. I adjust the drip irrigation system for a row of specialty herbs destined for Chef Anthony's restaurant next week. In my office, a simple space I built with reclaimed wood and large windows, I pause before the framed business plan hanging beside my desk. The paper has yellowed slightly, but my handwriting remains bold and clear, detailing every aspect of the dream I refuse to abandon. The loan officer had raised his eyebrows when I first presented it, but yesterday, his congratulatory email arrived. 70% of my loan repaid ahead of schedule, refinanced at a rate that seemed impossible a year ago. My phone buzzes with a text from Michael. Dinner tonight to celebrate the refinance? I've got something special planned. The warmth spreading through my chest has nothing to do with the morning sun. What began as professional respect has grown into something I never expected to find, a relationship built on mutual admiration rather than obligation. Dr. Watts would call this progress. Our weekly therapy sessions have helped me understand the difference between family ties and family bonds. One is automatic, the other earned. Last month, I discussed Tyler without my hands shaking or voice tightening. Not forgiveness exactly, but freedom from the anger that once threatened to root in my heart like an invasive species. The greenhouse doorbell chimes. Through the glass, I recognize my mother's silver sedan. She stands uncertainly by her car, clutching a small plant in a terracotta pot. Our relationship exists in careful texts and occasional coffee meetings, now her attempts at connection respectfully observing my boundaries. Dad hasn't visited once, still waiting for an apology I won't offer for protecting what's mine. Tyler completed his court-ordered community service with performative compliance, making the motions without true change. Last week, he applied for a job at Harrison's Garden Center across town, listing extensive greenhouse experience on his resume. The owner called to verify one of many bridges Tyler didn't realize I'd built in this community. Good morning. I call to my team as they arrive for our daily huddle. Faces bright with purpose, people who chose to be here, who value what we've built together. After work, I walk the property perimeter, surveying what we've accomplished. Security cameras gleam discreetly from corners. New beds burst with color where destruction once reigned. The client whose order Tyler destroyed now places orders triple the size, impressed by how we handled adversity. Michael arrives as evening softens the light. He seems nervous, fidgeting with something in his pocket as he suggests a walk through the largest greenhouse. Beneath the arbor of climbing roses I propagated from cuttings, he kneels, question and ring offered together. Later, we host an impromptu celebration dinner with my employees and friends, the family I've chosen. Laughter echoes across tables set among flowering plants. When we raise glasses in toast, my eyes catch the newly installed sign above the main entrance, Flores Family Greenhouse. The name remains, but its meaning has transformed completely. Family is what you build, not just what you're born into. And what I've built will continue to flourish, season after season, rooted in strength rather than obligation.
I stand on my parents' porch, arms loaded with carefully selected Thanksgiving gifts, the weight of tradition and expectation heavy on my shoulders. The crisp November air carries the unmistakable scent of Mom's roast turkey, and for a moment I'm transported back to simpler times before I became the family ATM. My knock echoes against the familiar red door of my childhood home. I've walked through it thousands of times, but today my stomach knots with an unfamiliar tension. Something isn't right. When the door finally opens, it's just a crack barely enough to reveal Mom's face, her expression strangely guarded. No warm welcome, no embrace. Mom? I shift the gifts in my arms, a bottle of Dad's favorite whiskey nearly slipping from my grasp. Is everything okay? That's when I hear Tyler's voice from somewhere behind her, cold and accusatory. We don't want selfish people here. The words hit me like a physical blow. I take an involuntary step back, nearly missing the edge of the porch. 6 years of sacrifice flash before my eyes in an instant. Late nights at Westbrook Partners, my phone lighting up with frantic texts from Tyler. Jess, they're going to repossess my car. Jess, the kids won't have Christmas. Jess, we're going to be evicted. Each crisis more urgent than the last, each solution coming from my dwindling savings. The $30,000 debt payment that emptied my emergency fund. 3 months of rent when he claimed his check was delayed. Private school tuition because the public schools are failing my kids. The new SUV when his old car broke down, a car I'd already paid to repair twice. Blessed to be able to help your struggling brother, Dad had said last Christmas, raising a toast while Tyler looked down modestly, playing the part of the grateful recipient rather than the entitled taker he'd become. I remember my promotion dinner 6 months ago, the one my parents reluctantly attended. Mom had barely acknowledged my new title, my corner office, the years of hard work. Instead, the conversation had immediately pivoted. That's nice, dear, she'd said, cutting off my explanation of my new responsibilities. But Tyler really needs help with the boys' summer camp fees. It would be such a shame if they couldn't go while their friends did. I'd written the check that night, watching as Tyler's face maintained the perfect balance of gratitude and martyrdom. Hannah, his wife, had never once met my eyes across the table, her silence a mystery I hadn't thought to question. Every holiday followed the same pattern. Tyler as the victim of circumstance, me as the fortunate sister blessed with stability. Never mind that I'd earned every penny through 60-hour work weeks and sacrificed my own dreams to keep his afloat. Dad emerges now behind Mom, his tall frame filling the remainder of the doorway. They're physically blocking me from entering, a visual representation of what they've been doing emotionally for years. Jessica. His voice carries that familiar tone of disappointment. Not anger, disappointment is far more effective on me. Your mother tells me you've decided to buy a new apartment. I clutch my gifts tighter. Yes. After 8 in my old place, Yet, You told your brother you couldn't help mortgage this month. Mom interrupts, her tone sharp with accusation. You could afford a new apartment, but you can't help your brother more. The hypocrisy steals my breath. They've never once questioned what Tyler does with the money. Never wondered why the emergencies never end, only escalate. I've helped for 6 years, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. I can't keep. Selfish, Tyler says again, finally stepping into view behind my parents. His face wears an expression I've never seen directed at me before, contempt, mixed with something like triumph. He knows he's won. Again. The gifts in my arms grow impossibly heavy. I've brought Dad's favorite whiskey, Mom's preferred chocolates, toys for Tyler's boys. I'd selected each one carefully, spent more than I should, and now I stand before them like a supplicant seeking entry to my own family's celebration. Tyler's smug expression is the final blow. He's not a victim, he never was. And the realization hits me with startling clarity: this isn't about money at all, it's about control. I lower my arms slowly, deliberately placing each gift on the porch. The whiskey bottle makes a solid thunk against the wooden boards. The wrapped toys form a small, festive pile. The chocolates I balance carefully on top. Jessica, don't be dramatic. Mom sighs with familiar exasperation. I straighten, searching their eyes for any sign of the love I've spent a lifetime earning through compliance and sacrifice. There's nothing, just expectation and judgment. This isn't about money, I say quietly. This is about control. The words hang in the cold November air between us. For the first time in years, I feel something close to peace as I turn and walk down the steps without another word. Behind me, no one calls my name. No one asks me to come back. I pause at the sidewalk to look back at the home where I'm no longer welcome. The perfect Thanksgiving scene from the outswarm lights, family gathered, the scent of tradition in the air. But now I see it for what it is. A beautiful illusion I can't afford anymore. The glow of holiday specials flickers across my darkened living room, casting blue shadows that dance over the untouched glass of Pinot Noir on my coffee table. I don't need to look to know it's either Mom, Dad, or Tyler not calling to apologize, but to demand explanations for my dramatic exit and selfish behavior. I take a deliberate breath and reach for the power button, holding it until the screen goes black. The sudden silence feels like the first moment of peace I've had in years. No more, I whisper to the empty room. Never again. The words settle around me with surprising weight. I expected to feel the familiar crush of guilt, the desperate need to make things right with my family at any cost. Instead, a peculiar lightness spreads through my chest relief, tangled with grief, like putting down a burden I've carried so long I'd forgotten it wasn't part of me. I lift the wine to my lips, savoring the earthy notes as I allow myself to acknowledge what I've known for months, but refuse to face. Helping Tyler wasn't helping at all. It was enabling destruction while sacrificing my own future. 3 days later, the sharp knock on my door comes just as I'm reviewing quarterly projections for a client. I know that knock 3 rapid taps followed by 2 slower ones. Tyler's signature since childhood. I open the door without greeting him, turning back toward my kitchen while he follows uninvited, bringing the scent of Dad's cologne with him. A deliberate choice, I relay a subtle psychological tactic to remind me of family. Jess, he begins, voice softened to the tone he reserves for financial requests. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't important. The boys need winter clothes, and the school's demanding tuition payment by Friday, or they'll be suspended. I notice how his gaze skips around my apartment, cataloging changes since his last visit: the new coffee maker, the framed art I treated myself to last month, calculating my resources. What happened to your raise? I ask quietly, remembering his announcement at Dad's birthday dinner. You said the promotion came with a 15% increase. His expression shifts so quickly I nearly miss its irritation flashing before settling back into practiced concern. The raise is being held up in HR. You know how these things go. But I do know how these things go. I've managed payroll systems. Corporate raises don't get held up for months. When I don't immediately move toward my purse or checkbook as I always have before, Tyler's approach changes. His shoulders square, his voice drops the gentle pretense. Look, I've got Hannah and the kids waiting in the car. Are you going to help us or not? I meet his eyes directly for what feels like the first time in years. You have a family, Tyler. Start taking care of them. His mask slips entirely then. The transformation is startling, his features hardening, voice rising as he steps toward me. After everything I've done for this family, what exactly have you done, Tyler? The question emerges calmer than I feel. Besides take. His face flushes deep red. You think you're so perfect with your fancy job and your downtown apartment? You've always thought you were better than the rest of us. I think of Aunt Sarah mentioning seeing Tyler at Morton's Steakhouse the same week he told me he couldn't pay his electric bill. Cousin Michael commenting about Tyler's new golf clubs while I was covering his car insurance. Hannah's averted eyes and tight smile whenever money was discussed. How did I miss the pattern for so long? Get out, I say quietly. Mom and Dad are right about you, Tyler spits, backing toward the door. Selfish to the core. The door slams behind him hard enough to rattle the frame. I stand motionless in my kitchen, waiting for the familiar tsunami of guilt to drown me. It doesn't come. 2 days later, a call from an unfamiliar number interrupts my morning coffee. Jessica Bennett? This is James Carter. I'm Hannah's attorney. My coffee cup freezes halfway to my lips. Hannah has an attorney? I'm handling her divorce proceedings, he explains, his voice professionally neutral. She suggested I contact you regarding some financial matters. The word divorce echoes in my head as James continues. Miss Bennett, are you aware that your brother maintained a separate bank account where he deposited much of the money you provided for family emergencies? My hands begin to shake, coffee sloshing over the rim of my cup. We've documented over $50,000 in the past 3 years alone. James continues. Primarily spent on gambling debts, luxury purchases, and hotel stays in Atlantic City and Las Vegas. The room seems to tilt sideways. $50,000. More than my emergency fund, more than my retirement contributions for those years. Hannah wanted you to know, James says softly. She says she can't live with the deception anymore. My phone beeps with an incoming call, Mom's ringtone. Of course they've already heard. Tell Hannah I'd like to talk to her, I say to James before answering my mother's call. Jessica Elizabeth Bennett. My mother begins without greeting. What have you done? Your brother is devastated, and you need to fix this immediately. The familiar pressure builds the expectation that I'll apologize, make things right, preserve the family peace at any cost. For a moment, I almost give in to the lifelong pattern. Instead, I take a deep breath. No, Mom, I won't be fixing this for him. Not anymore. I end the call and silence my phone, a peculiar calm settling over me. The isolation of standing against everyone I've loved is terrifying, but beneath the fear runs something stronger, the quiet certainty that I'm finally standing on solid ground. I see him before he sees me, Tyler, pacing the lobby of my building like a caged animal. His normally styled hair sticks up in tufts, as if he's been running his hands through it for hours. The doorman catches my eye with an apologetic grimace. Miss Bennett, your brother insisted on waiting, said it was a family emergency. Of course he did. Everything with Tyler is an emergency. I take a steadying breath, squaring my shoulders as I approach. My heels click against the marble floor, the sound echoing in the high-ceilinged space. The rhythm feels like a countdown. Tyler whirls around, his face contorting from anxious to accusatory in an instant. There you are. Do you even check your phone anymore? I've been at work, Tyler. Some of us have to be. His jaw tightens. The familiar wounded look spreads across his features, but something's different now. There's a rawness to his eyes, a desperation I haven't seen before. You need to fix what you've done to my marriage. His voice rises, sharp enough that Mrs. Coleman from 4 slows her walk to the elevator, openly staring. Lower your voice, I say, moving toward the stairwell for some privacy. What are you talking about? He follows, too close, the scent of stale coffee on his breath. Hannah's talking about leaving me. She's been meeting with a lawyer. A lawyer, Jess. And it started right after you stopped helping us. The stairwell door closes behind us with a heavy thud. Tyler's words bounce off the concrete walls, amplifying his accusations. That's not my responsibility, I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. The hell it isn't. He steps closer, finger pointing at my face. You brainwashed her. Turned her. What did you tell her? I don't back away. For the first time in years, I stand my ground against the hurricane that is my brother's anger. I haven't spoken to Hannah in months. Liar! The word explodes from him, his face reddening. She's suddenly asking about our finances, demanding to see bank statements. Where would she get those ideas if not from you? 3 residents from my floor push through the stairwell door, conversation dying as they absorb the scene before them. Tyler doesn't even notice, too consumed with his own narrative. I meet their eyes calmly. Excuse us, please, family discussion. They hurry past, but the interruption has broken something in Tyler. He slumps against the wall, suddenly deflated. My life is falling apart, Jess, he whispers, and you're just watching it happen. I should feel guilty. That's my role, isn't it? To absorb his pain, fix his problems, empty my accounts for his endless needs. But all I feel is a strange, cool clarity. Maybe, I say quietly, your life is falling apart because of your choices, not mine. The package arrives by courier the next morning. A manila envelope with my name typed on a clean white label. No return address. Inside, I find a stack of documents meticulously organized with color-coded tabs. A note sits on top, handwritten in neat, feminine script. Jessica, I thought you should know. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner, Hannah. I spread the contents across my kitchen table, coffee cooling beside me, forgotten. Hotel receipts from Las Vegas, Atlantic City, online gambling transactions. Credit card statements showing purchases at Gucci and Rolexall while Tyler was telling me he couldn't pay his rent. Photos slip from between the pages. Tyler at a blackjack table. Date stamp showing the exact day he called me, panicked about the kids not having winter coats. Tyler with his arm around a woman who isn't Hannah at a casino bar. My hands shake as I turn to the final section. Hannah's notes, detailing years of deception. How she discovered Tyler's secret account. How he gaslit her when she asked questions. How he'd come home from business trips, smelling of alcohol and wearing new watches. I didn't want to believe it, she writes. I wanted to trust him. But I can't ignore it anymore. The kids and I deserve better. You. My phone vibrates against the table, Tyler's name flashing on the screen. The universe has impeccable timing. What do you want? My voice sounds strange to my own earshot. She told you, didn't she? The panic in his voice is audible. Hannah sent you something. Yes. It's not what it looks like, Jess. I can explain everything if you just. Las Vegas? My voice rises despite myself. The Rolex you bought the same week you told me your children needed winter clothes. The woman at the casino? That's taken completely out of context. He's shouting now, scrambling. Hannah's trying to make me look bad for the divorce. She's manipulating you. 6 years of suppressed anger burst through the dam I've built around it. You lied to all of us. For years. If Hannah is leaving, it's because of you. You don't understand what it's like to struggle, he counters, voice breaking. You've always had everything come easy. I worked 60-hour weeks while you gambled away my money. Don't you dare talk to me about struggle. Jess, please, you're my sister, if you just loan me enough to. I hang up mid-sentence. The silence that follows feels like the first clean breath I've taken in years. So he took approximately how much from you over the 6 years? My financial advisor, Marissa, keeps her expression neutral, but I can see the shock in her eyes as she reviews my statements. About $140,000, give or take. Saying the number out loud makes my stomach clench. I never added it up before. Her pen pauses over her notepad. Miss Bennett, I've been your advisor for 3 years. Why didn't you mention these substantial withdrawals during our quarterly reviews? Heat creeps up my neck. I considered it family support, not relevant to my financial planning. Family support. She repeats the words carefully. Of this magnitude, without any repayment plan, is absolutely relevant to your retirement projections. Shame washes over me. I've counseled clients about financial boundaries for years. How did I miss the exploitation happening in my own life? I can't believe I was so blind, Spur. Marissa's expression softens. Financial manipulation within families is surprisingly common. Even financial experts aren't immune. She helps me create a recovery plan adjustments to rebuild my emergency fund, catch up on retirement contributions, establish a timeline for the apartment renovations I've been postponing. For the first time, my financial future includes only my needs, not Tyler's constant emergencies. One more thing, Marissa says as our meeting concludes. I recommend you consult with a therapist who specializes in family dynamics. Financial recovery is only part of the equation. I realize she's right. The money is just the surface layer of what I've lost. My father's voice fills my apartment, loud even through the speakerphone. You need to fix this mess you've created. I didn't create anything, I reply, continuing to chop vegetables for my dinner. The rhythmic movement of the knife against the cutting board eases me. Your brother's children are involved, Jessica. Your own niece and nephew. My mother's voice cuts in, tearful and pleading. We're just asking you to keep the family together. That's what families do. The carrots line up in neat orange coins. I focus on their perfect symmetry as I reply. By pretending Tyler didn't lie to all of us? By ignoring his gambling addiction? He wouldn't gamble, my father insists, voice dropping to a dangerous growl. Someone is lying to you. I lay the evidence out for them, the hotel receipts, the casino photos, Hannah's documentation. Each detail met with denial, deflection, disbelief. Those could be faked, my mother argues weakly. Why would Hannah fake them? I count. Silence stretches for a moment before my father speaks again. It doesn't matter, he's your brother. You help family no matter what. The ultimatum hangs in the air between us. Choose Tyler or choose truth. I'm sorry, I say, meaning it despite everything. I can't do that anymore. Then you're not the daughter we raised, my father says, voice flat. The line goes dead. I continue chopping, each slice precise and controlled, even as tears blur my vision. The truth is finally out after years of deception. I thought cutting off my brother was the hardest part, but watching my parents choose sides has tested me in ways I never imagined. I set down the knife and look around my quiet apartment. This is the turning point, and it will change our family forever. The envelope from Aunt Margie trembles in my hands, her neat cursive spelling out my name with the careful penmanship of her generation. It's been exactly 1 month since I walked away from my parents' porch, leaving my carefully selected gifts behind like offerings to a family altar I no longer worship at. I slide my finger under the flap, pull out the single sheet of flowered stationery, and sink onto my couch as reality finally catches up to Tyler's carefully constructed house of cards. Jessica dear, Aunt Margie writes, I thought you should know Tyler, and the boys are staying with me temporarily. He's been evicted from that beautiful house. Hannah's filed for divorce and is seeking full custody. I remember what happened at Thanksgiving, and I want you to know not everyone believes his version of events. I reach for my coffee, stone cold now from sitting untouched while I've been working. The satisfaction I expected to feel never materializes. Instead, there's a hollow ache for my nephews, caught in the undertow of their father's deception. My phone buzzes with the fourth voicemail from Mom this week. I press play, steeling myself for another round of accusations. Jessica. Her voice sounds different, strained, exhausted. Your father, I need to talk to you. Please call us back. The desperation in her tone is new, replacing the self-righteous indignation of her previous messages. Dad's voice cuts in from the background. Tell her we can't keep doing this. Tell her. The message cuts off abruptly. I've heard through family channels that Tyler has turned to them for money now that my wallet is closed to him. Their retirement savings, carefully built over 40 years of my father's work at the factory, now flowing into the same black hole that swallowed my emergency fund. The phone rings again almost immediately, but it's not my parents. It's Uncle Dave, who I haven't spoken to since last 4th of July. Jessica, he says without preamble when I answer. I should have told you sooner. I've seen Tyler at the Horseshoe Casino at least twice a month for the past 2 years. Always at the high-stakes tables. My breath catches. Why did anything? A heavy sigh fills the line. Didn't want to cause family drama. Your parents were so proud of him, and you seem to have things under control in your life. The familiar justification for silence, the same reasoning that allowed Tyler's behavior to metastasize until it destroyed his marriage, his home, and his children's stability. I'm not the only one, Uncle Dave continues. Your cousin Stella saw him dropping hundreds at the dog track last summer. Marge caught him in a lie about where he was when she offered to take the boys for a weekend. We all just kept quiet. After we hang up, I sit with this new knowledge. Family members who saw the truth, but chose the comfort of silence over the discomfort of honesty. The irony is bitter. All those holiday gatherings where Tyler was portrayed as the victim of circumstance, while behind cupped hands and knowing glances, the truth circulated like contraband. The next day, a text from Hannah appears on my phone. Can we meet for coffee? We choose a neutral location, a small cafe halfway between our homes. She arrives with dark circles under her eyes, but a straightness to her spine I've never seen before. I should have reached out years ago, she says, wrapping her hands around her mug. I was ashamed, afraid. He convinced me that speaking up would destroy the family. The boys? I ask, not knowing what else to say. Struggling. Her eyes fix on the table. They don't understand why they had to leave their home, their school, why their dad keeps making promises he doesn't keep. I think of my nephews, Jack with his science projects, Ethan with his soccer trophies, innocent casualties in a war they never fought. I can help, I hear myself say. Not like before, not without conditions. But I can help you get settled somewhere stable for the boys. Hannah's eyes meet mine, and for the first time in our 10 years of knowing each other, I see her, really see her. Thank you, she whispers. But I need to stand on my own. I wanted you to know I'm sorry for staying silent. 3 days later, Tyler shows up at Westbrook Partners, his eyes wild as he storms past reception toward my office. Family loyalty. He shouts as security escorts him from the building. After everything I've done for you. My colleagues stare, but I feel oddly calm as I close my office door and return to the client portfolio I was reviewing. Tyler's desperate display has revealed more than he intended, showing everyone that the power dynamic between us has irrevocably shifted. That night, I stand at my kitchen window, watching the city lights flicker on one by one. The weight I've carried for 6 years has lifted, leaving me lighter, but somehow more substantial. The phone doesn't ring with emergencies. No desperate texts illuminate the screen. For the first time in years, I belong completely to myself. I'm staring at my phone like it's a snake about to strike. Mom's name flashes on the screen, my first contact from her in 3 long months. 3 months of silence after a lifetime of daily calls. 3 months of rebuilding my life without the constant drain of Tyler's emergencies. My thumb hovers over the answer button. Part of me wants to let it go to voicemail. but something in the timing feels different. I take a deep breath there. Jessica? Mom's voice sounds smaller somehow, less certain than I've ever heard it. Do you have a minute to talk? The familiar defensiveness doesn't rise up this time, just a calm, steady awareness as I'm listening. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she says. A pause stretches between us, and I resist the urge to fill it. What happened at Thanksgiving? I'm sorry, we were. The words hang in the air, unexpected and unadorned with excuses. No, but you should understand, or, if you had just helped one more time. Just a clean, clear apology. Your father wants to speak with you too, she continues. Dad's gruff voice comes on the line, clearing his throat twice before speaking. Jessica, we were wrong about the whole situation. With Tyler, with you, with everything. I sit down heavily on my kitchen stool, unprepared for this moment despite having imagined it times. We've been getting calls, Mom explains when she returns to the phone. Tyler's still trying to get money from us, making up emergencies, exactly like you said. Last week he claimed his car was repossessed. Dad interjects from what must be another extension. But Hannah called to let us know he sold it himself, for gambling money. The vindication I expected to feel doesn't come. Instead, there's a hollow sadness for what we've all lost. I'm sorry you're going through this, I say, and mean it. We should have listened to you, Mom says, her voice catching. We'd like to see you, if you're willing. Not at the house, somewhere neutral, just to talk. The invitation hangs between us. 3 months ago, I would have jumped at the chance, desperate for reconciliation at any cost. Now, I find myself weighing their words carefully. I need to think about it. I tell. Of course, Dad says quickly. Take your time. After we hang up, I stand at my window overlooking the city, watching people move through their lives below. The familiar guilt doesn't come the lifetime of feeling responsible for everyone else's happiness. Instead, I feel the weight of choice, the power of it. The next day, I sit across from Dr. Levine, my therapist of 2 months, describing the call. What are you feeling about their invitation? Confused, I admit. Part of me wants to reconnect. They're my parents. But another part is afraid of falling back into old patterns. Dr. Levine nods. What would healthy boundaries look like if you did reconnect? I consider this carefully. No more discussions about helping Tyler. No pressure to solve family problems. Respect for my decisions, even when they don't agree. The words form with surprising clarity. Those sound like reasonable boundaries, she says. The question is, are you prepared to enforce them? I realize with sudden certainty that I am. The Jessica who stood on that porch at Thanksgiving, desperate for approval, has been replaced by someone stronger. Someone who knows her worth isn't measured by how much she gives away. Yes, I tell her, I think I am. A week later, I sit at a corner table in Riverside Cafe, a neutral location I selected deliberately. I arrive early, arranging myself with hair back straight, hands folded on the table, the picture of calm composure, despite the nervousness flickering just beneath the surface. When my parents enter, I'm struck by how they've aged in just 3 months. Dad's shoulders stoop slightly, Mom's face carries new lines around her mouth. They spot me and approach cautiously, as if I might flee. Thank you for meeting us, Mom says as they settle into their seats. I nod but don't immediately reach for the menu or launch into small talk. The silence stretches, uncomfortable, necessary. I've given this a lot of thought. I begin finally. If we're going to have a relationship moving forward, there are things that need to be clear. My voice is steady, surprising me with its strength. They both nod, Dad's expression unusually attentive. I will never discuss helping Tyler again. Not financially, not emotionally, not in any way. The words come out clear and firm. If you want me in your life, you need to respect that. Mom's lips press together. But she doesn't argue. Dad simply nods, his eyes holding mine with new understanding. I'm still your daughter, and I still love you both, I continue, my voice softening slightly. But I won't be used again by anyone. The silence that follows isn't angry or hurt. It's thoughtful, weighed with recognition. We understand, Dad says finally. A week later, the news comes through extended family. Tyler has moved to Arizona, claiming a fresh start. His parting shot arrives in my inbox, a rambling email blaming everyone else for his problems. I read it once, then delete it without responding. The cycle stops here. My aunt calls to tell me Hannah and the children are settling well into their new apartment. She mentions, almost casually, that Tyler hasn't paid child support, but Hannah expected this and planned accordingly. I make a note to check in with Hannah directly, not to rescue but to support. Thanksgiving approaches again, marking a full year since everything changed. After careful consideration, I invite my parents to my apartment for dinner, a simple meal. No elaborate gifts or accents. To my surprise, they accept. There's an awkwardness as they enter my space, their eyes taking in the changes' new furniture, the art on the walls chosen solely for my pleasure, but there's also tentative warmth. You have a beautiful home, Mom says, and for once, there's no subtle comparison to what Tyler doesn't have. Dad hands me a bottle of wine, not the expensive whiskey I used to bring him, but something he chose with thought. Hannah brings the boys for dessert, their entrance changing the dynamic in unexpected ways. My parents interact with their grandchildren without the shadow of time between them. Conversations flow around topics other than problems: books, movies, my niece's science project, genuine connection emerging in the spaces where manipulation once lived. It's not perfect. There are awkward pauses, old habits that threaten to resurface. But in the imperfection, I find something real beginning to take root: the painful, healing process of building authentic relationships. As I watch my family navigate this new territory, I realize some questions don't have easy answers. Is forgiveness possible after years of being taken for granted? Perhaps. Is it worth the risk? The jury's still out. But for now, we're trying. One careful step at a time. I stand at the window of my new apartment, watching autumn leaves spiral down to the courtyard below. The morning sun bathes everything in gold, including the creamy walls I chose after 3 paint samples and absolutely no one's opinion but my own. My phone remains silent on a Sunday morning. No frantic texts, no desperate calls. 1 year. It's been 1 year since I walked away from my parents' porch, leaving the holiday gifts in a neat pile and 6 years of manipulation behind. The silence felt deafening then, now it feels like freedom. I sip my coffee, savoring both the richness and the fact that my emergency fund has finally been restored. The promotion at Westbrook came with a corner office and a team of my own people who respect my financial expertise instead of treating it like an unlimited resource to exploit. You look different, my boss had remarked last month during my performance review, more present. I am. Energy once drained by family drama now fuels creative solutions for clients who actually heed my advice. My therapist calls it boundaries, I call it salvation. Dr. Winters helped me navigate the guilt that threatened to drown me those first months. You didn't cause his gambling addiction, she reminded me weekly until I could say it without flinching. The support group for families affected by gambling showed me I wasn't alone, that Tyler's manipulation followed a textbook pattern I'd been too close to recognize. On my bookshelf sits a photo of Hannah and the kids at their new apartment's housewarming. The friendship that blossomed between us surprised us both, built on honesty instead of the strained silence of our previous relationship. I should have told you years ago, she admitted over coffee one afternoon. But Tyler made it seem like questioning him would destroy the family. It nearly did anyway, just not in the way anyone expected. My niece graduates high school next spring. The college fund I established comes with clear terms: education only, with statements sent directly to her. The look in her eyes when I explained financial independence nearly broke me. No child should understand exploitation that well. Mom and Dad visit monthly now. It was awkward at first, conversations strained without Tyler's problems as the centerpiece. Their counseling sessions have helped them understand their enabling behavior, though old habits occasionally resurface. "We're proud of you, Jessica," Dad said last week, the words still unfamiliar enough to make my throat tighten. "We should have seen what was happening." Tyler still calls occasionally, always with an emergency, always needing funds. The pattern remains so transparent, it's almost comical now. "No," I tell him simply, without anger or explanation. My calm refusal no longer comes from resentment, just clarity. "Hannah says he's dating someone new. I pray she recognizes the signs I missed." Meanwhile, Hannah and the kids have bloomed in their new apartment across town. Jake made honor roll last semester. Emma joined the debate team, her confidence growing in a home without tension's shadow. Yesterday marked a full-circle moment: Thanksgiving dinner at my apartment. Mom brought her famous cranberry relish without being asked. Dad discussed books instead of problems. After dinner, Mom surprised me by asking about retirement planning options. "You've always been good with this stuff," she said, a glimmer of respect in her eyes I'd waited decades to see. "We should have listened sooner." When Hannah arrived with the children for dessert, conversation flowed without the elephant in the room consuming all the oxygen. Tyler's absence was felt but not mourned. Some people can't be helped until they help themselves. My bookshelf now holds family photographs I actually want to display, not the tense holiday portraits of yesterday, but candid moments of genuine connection. Emma helping me plant herbs on my balcony. Mom and I laughing at a cooking disaster. Dad teaching Jake how to change a tire. These new memories form the visual soundtrack of boundaries respected, not trampled. On my wall hangs a simple quote: "Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously." It took 36 years to learn this truth. The phone rings, and I answer without checking caller ID, a small but significant victory. "Jessica, it's Mom. Just calling to see how your day is going." No emergency, no manipulation, just connection. I smile, watching golden leaves continue their graceful descent outside my window. "I'm doing well," I tell her, meaning it for the first time in years. Really well.